and everything else, then the experience counts. If you've done a terrible job in the eyes of many people, then that experience becomes your weakness because you've had time in your party with you present in it in whatever form to deliver. And if people think you have delivered, then the experience counts in your favor. If they think you have done a bad job, you and your colleagues, it works against you. So I don't want to go into each individual, but I'm going to show you the systems that have produced them. And so it's almost a case of saying that some of us are happy that we have a 3-horse race or a 4-horse race. I would have been very sad if the choices were only APC and PDP. Perhaps I should stop there because I don't want to make it seem as if I'm particularly against APC or PDP, because that's not the point. I think Nigerians should have a choice, and I'm happy they have a choice this time around.
Well, now that you've brought up the issue of choice, what about you yourself, Mr. Peterside? Is there a particular candidate that you will vote for and that you would like to see emerge victorious? If so, why have you chosen that particular candidate?
You know, in 2015, even before opinion polls came out, I argued publicly that I was going to vote for Goodluck Jonathan. In 2019, I made it very clear I was going to vote for Atiku. In 2023, if I'm going to the polls on Saturday, I'm going to vote for Peter Obi. Not for the reasons that some people think, because I know those candidates. I know 3 of them quite well. I just have to make a choice. I mean, even if, let's say, first among equals. So I'm not trying to run anybody down. So answering your question, why would I vote for Peter Obi? I think because it represents a new way, a new path, and not because you are saying you're sure a new path is better. But I even like the idea of a government that does not have absolute majority in the parliament. Because we've seen that absolute majority abused, where people bring some complete nonsense on the economic front, and in advance is rubber-stamped by their whole party. They put Nigeria aside and they approve it. I prefer an arrangement where nobody controls the Senate, nobody controls House of Rep. You bring something to that place, it had better be in the national interest, or there will be a bloodbath. So it's a new arrangement. Then talking about the individual, people say he has no federal experience. I disagree slightly. I served on the economic management team of Goodluck Jonathan with Peter Obi for 4 years. There were only 2 governors on the economic management team. There was CBN governor, there was finance minister, there were other people, ministers. Only 2 governors. Goodluck Jonathan chose them on merit. From the north, he chose Admiral Nyako. And from the south, he chose Peter Obi. So for all of those 4 years, Peter Obi was part of the economic management team. All the arguments on fuel subsidy, all the arguments on power sector reform, he was present. It was like a period of tutelage. And I tell you one thing, if he was always on the wrong side of every economic argument, I would never vote for him. Because I think we're tired of people being put in a high office who don't fully understand what this economy is about. So it has to do with the fact that I believe there's a new arrangement that he represents. Whether it succeeds is a different matter. It brings hope, and I think one of the things that people want to buy into is hope. I personally also want to buy into hope. But hey, even if he does not win, I will accept it. At heart, I'm a Democrat.
Well, that clears that. Very interesting from you there. But let's go beyond the candidates, Mr. Peterside, the candidates themselves. I mean, there are lots of controversial issues that could potentially divide and separate the electorate. What do you see as these issues?
Oh, you know, even in our opinion polling, it's not just about who is going to win or who we think people are going to vote for. We asked about religion. Now tell me whether you're sad or you're happy, but the poll we did in December, 15% of the respondents said religion matters in their choice of president. So, which means that they're telling you that, hey, let me not kid you, religion is one of the things I look at, 15%. You may think that's a small number, but it's a high number. If the total number of votes cast in the presidential election is 40 million votes, 15% is 6 million votes. If 6 million votes are cast on the basis of religion, that can clinch a race. So issues like all these Muslim tickets play an impact for people who care about religion. Muslim ticket may excite some Muslims, but they may turn off many Christians, and they may decide to vote against somebody because of that. The next thing is ethnicity and zoning and all that stuff. You know, I think that number was 10% say it matters. Some people are going out there to vote for Tinubu or Peter Obi, not because they love them, but because they want presidency to go to the south. Whether we like it or not, some people sold the idea of zoning to Nigeria and Nigerians for a long time. And you cannot just turn the clock off overnight. In fact, some will argue the best time to forget about things like zoning probably is when every zone has had their turn, because it's difficult to convince people that zoning for across 3-4 zones, and then you say no more zoning. The other people may say, hey, how about us? Well, let's put that aside, because the other reason why you can put away things like zoning is if you had a political class that spent time in educating people and saying, we've tried zoning before, we're putting it down, and give yourself time to send that message. But what did we have in Nigeria? Southern governors came out screaming, presidency must go to the south. This was in this election. They were the ones screaming about zoning. Next thing we heard, Northern APC governors shouted, this thing must go to the south. So you fed a populace on zoning, even in this election. And then suddenly you give somebody the task of going around saying that zoning does not matter. If it didn't matter, why did the Southern governors get out there and shout that the presidency must come south? So that's why I say that the political elite, if you want to stop something, you've got to work at it and find the right time that you can convince people, give them notice to put this thing down. But I will go as far as saying that we cannot go on with zoning forever. So I sympathize with those who say that we should put it aside, but not in the midst of political leaders screaming about zoning for so long, and then when it does not suit them, or when it suits them, they want to abandon it. And so those are some of the things that, so I've mentioned Muslim ticket, zoning, economy, insecurity. These are all the issues.
Yes, and you did talk about all those things, but we saw today a second peace accord signed by the candidates and their parties, watched by President Buhari as well as many international and local observers. I mean, can there ever be elections in Nigeria without intimidation, violence, or the threat of it? Can elections ever really embody peace in this country?
Well, we've had elections before that were peaceful, but from what I remember, the June 12th election in 1993 was relatively peaceful. So it's not true that whenever you have a candidate from the north and from the south, elections must be violent. Tofa was from the north, Abiola was from the south. Okay, the results were annulled. I admit it's easier to have peaceful elections when you have two candidates, like in 1999, both Christian Southerners. It is true that when you have this type of election, 2023, where you have candidates from 4 different zones, different religions, and so on, people can exploit that for mischief. But then the authorities must stand up and be counted as well. You're not in government for nothing. Buhari's legacy must be to deliver free and fair elections. Already, some of us praise Buhari, and I have to say that because I have condemned almost all of Buhari's policies on the economic side. I have to commend him for the Electoral Act. That was a phenomenal step to improve our chances of a free and fair election. In terms of a legacy, if you can follow that by delivering a free and fair election, actually, following the rules of that act, perhaps that may be his enduring legacy. Because with due respect, there's little else.
On that note, I want to say thank you very much indeed. It's always an experience and hugely enlightening talking with you, Mr. Peterside. Atedo Peterside is the founder of ANAP Foundation. He's president, of course, of ANAP Foundation as well. He's also the founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank, and he was talking to me there from our studios in Lagos. Thank you very much indeed. And you're watching Arise Prime Time. Plenty more still ahead. I'll be joined by Senator Sani Musa, chairman of the Committee on Senate Services and a senior member of the ruling APC party. Stay with us.
Nígbà PDP ọ̀dọ́ rí ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ oúnjẹ rẹpẹtẹ ayé wa dára nígbàlẹ̀ bá dé ló bá dojúrú ojoojúmọ́ ṣá la Nàìjíríà ní Nàìjíríà ilẹ̀ ọlọ́ràá ló bá dahoro ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà. Àtíkù ti dé Òkòwà ti dé ìmọ́lẹ̀ ti dé òkùnkùn paradà. No experiment, safe choice. Only experience, safe choice. Foreign investment, safe choice. Recover Nigeria, safe choice. Safe choice.
Vote the safe choice to recover Nigeria.
PDP.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
It done the come. Population and housing census. It done the come. Oh yeah, everybody get ready, well.
On the 29th of March to the 2nd of April 2023,
the National Population Commission will be conducting a comprehensive population and housing census to generate reliable, sustainable, and up-to-date data needed for policy formulation, security, national planning, and development.
Population and housing census. It will make life better, eh? Because now him our government to give the use.
National Population and Housing Census 2023. It's your civic responsibility. Please support it. The 2023 Population and Housing Census is being conducted by the National Population Commission, NPC. Personal data assistants, PDAs, will be deployed countrywide for the census exercise. Everything will be done digitally. Nigeria's 2023 Population and Housing Census.
On the 29th of March to the 2nd of April 2023.
You count. Be counted.
What is really happening in Akamata Market? It seems these people don't want the election to hold.
I hope you're broadcasting to the world must hear.
No. Is that how you people share sensitive news like that without verifying it? If I may ask, which news platform published the news?
Jojo sent it though.
Jojo? Is that not the same Jojo that posted a fake election result the last time that almost caused a riot?
You know they forget something.
No. In this election season and after, one must be very careful. Or do you want to set the country on fire?
Haba.
Fake news is a threat to a free and fair election and to peace and security. So, before you share any news, check to be sure the source is credible. Check if there are supporting credible sources. Read beyond the headlines. Check the author. Check the date. Check your biases. Ask an expert or send to a fact-checking organization for confirmation. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Centre for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, as we enter the last part of the race to Aso Rock and the final curtain prepares to fall, lots of lingering concerns, not least the constraints of Naira and fuel shortages, insecurity, a state of tension, and incredible political saber rattling. Many people are quite frankly nervous, and there have been renewed calls for the peace accord signed by the candidates and their parties to go beyond intent and actually keep the peace. So, at this crucial time, in a country that can seem deeply divided, can the ruling APC party truly defend Nigeria's democracy, bolster the mood of the people, and reassure them that this country's center of gravity will not shift or be set adrift as the final curtain falls? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Senator Sani Musa, Chairman of the Committee on Senate Services and a senior member of the ruling APC party. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles.
I know this is a busy period because you've been campaigning and you've just come in from your state, Niger State. So we're glad you made out the time to be able to share your thoughts with us tonight.
Thank you.
So of course the APC, your party, ending their rallies in Lagos yesterday, Tuesday, huge attendance, lots of colour and apparent enthusiasm. How do you think that went down in Lagos and beyond, apart from the obvious inconvenience for Lagosians of blocking many roads and making movement virtually impossible in an already sort of crowded city?
Charles, thank you very much for this invitation, and I believe this is a very good opportunity for me to give you the right answers. Yesterday was actually the end of our presidential campaigns, and the grand rally held in Lagos. You can see how it was crowded. Despite the difficulties Nigerians are facing, but you can see how Nigerians from every part of the country decided to join Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos to be able to present himself again to Nigerians that he is the man for the job. And not only in Lagos, in many states' capitals, this rally was held. In Minna, Niger State capital, it was the grand rally. If you have seen any of the pictures, if you have seen the crowd, despite the fact that there are difficulties in terms of getting funds, but Nigerians were very, very keen to come in to hear what we have for them. And it's overwhelming.
Right. Well, talking about funds, some have suggested that money was being distributed yesterday during that APC mega rally in Lagos. I mean, can you react to that allegation? And there's video evidence that's been presented to support that. The video is on air right now. We've got it, you can see it there, the woman wearing an APC t-shirt and giving out sort of money in a bus that was going to, apparently, the mega rally.
How much has been shared?
Well, I don't know.
How much do the banks give out? If you ask this question, then I have a question for the Central Bank of Nigeria. Because it has been said, no money should be withdrawn, not more than 20,000.
No, but that's old currency that's being given out there. And a lot of APC governors...
I wouldn't want to believe that it's an old currency.
Well, it is. You can see it.
I wouldn't want to believe that it's an old currency because the CBN have refused to accept, to tell Nigerians to continue the use of old currency. So when you tell me it's an old currency, I will argue with you.
Yeah, but
because Central Bank of Nigeria has said nobody should accept old currency.
Yeah, but your APC governors some of them have said that they're going to continue to use, in fact, they've said to people in their states, keep using old currency.
We are at a delicate period of campaigns, and any mischief can come with any kind of definition. So when you're telling me that, APC, this is just one scenario, what about the billions that we have had or COA have taken to distribute?
Well,
what about that?
I don't have any evidence of that.
That's why you've read it in the newspapers.
No, that's why we presented video.
But you read it in newspapers. Don't you read it?
Yeah, but shouldn't you be addressing the allegations against you?
If that is true,
right?
This is an allegation, I would have expected you to have gone very deep in your research to find where did all these newspapers or online got their evidences that there's money with Okowa.
Well,
Okowa's PA
I
came
promise you,
on
we
and
dealt
spoke.
with that issue when it was top of the news.
So
agenda.
that issue should have been coming together with where a woman is sharing an envelope. How am I sure it's money she's sharing? How am I sure?
Anyway,
tell me.
Anyway, let's move away from that, okay?
Yeah.
Will the APC conduct itself in a sportsman-like manner in this election, especially in places like Lagos? Because there are concerns that the APC, and not just the APC, some of the other parties as well, are desperate to win and are spoiling for a fight to the finish.
From the campaigns we have seen and the activities going on, I do not want to believe that a party like APC, which is my party, have presented itself in a desperate mode. You can see who are desperate. You can see who are displaying immaturity in campaigns. You
and
can
who,
see
who are those? PDP,
of course. What are you talking about? It's everywhere. I mean, we want to see issues being discussed. I had your interview with Otero Peterside, who I so much respect. He has said it, and there's one point he made. He said he's a Democrat. Even if the person he's supporting lost the election, he will accept the result. So let me tell you today, APC is not in a desperate mode. APC believes that with what we have done in terms of infrastructural development in this country, which of course it has been overshadowed by little things that the opponents are bringing up to the table. But I can tell you, would Nigerians still have confidence in this party, especially in my own locality? In Niger State, I can tell you that we are going to present APC, if not 100%, 100%. I can tell you that.
Well, let's go beyond Niger State, and let's give you the chance to put your pitch forward on behalf of the APC. What would you say is the APC's strong point? What is the winning card that Bola Ahmed Tinubu can play, invoking the APC name with both President Buhari's record and that of Mr. Tinubu in Lagos, which have both been challenged?
You can't challenge the achievements Lagos have seen over the years since after Tinubu assumed office. After Tinubu assumed office, if you've been to Lagos before then, before assumption of office, you will agree with me that Lagos is very hostile. It's a hostile city. It's like a slum. But today, if you go to Lagos, you must give him that credit because of the rolling plan he had. He didn't just have a plan for 4 years, first term or second term. He had a long-term plan. He rolled a plan for over 25 years, and that plan has been working. If you go to Lagos today, I'm telling you today, it looks different from any other city in Nigeria. Why is it that? It's the foresight. It's the vision he had. If you look at Lagos before now, the kind of environment you see, everywhere is dump sites.
I have to agree with you.
If
because,
you go to Lagos today,
I do remember, I mean, I don't know whether the change in Lagos is attributable to him, by himself, but I can certainly agree with you that I do remember Lagos quite some time ago, coming to Lagos, and every time I go to Lagos this time, I am pleasantly surprised with how they've been able to manage such what appeared to be a very unwieldy city.
You know, Charles, I'm a realist, and I say it the way it is. When you go to Lagos, because of the planned evolution he has made over time, if you look at the predictive validity of all that he has been doing, you will see that, yes, it was a plan that will transform that city, which he has done. And that is what is making us to believe that if Tinubu has the votes of Nigerians now, he will be able to transform this country to what it should be. Nigeria has tremendous opportunities. we have both the capital and human resources to transform this country to what it should be.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
unfortunately,
sorry, go on.
Unfortunately, we have remained with the kind of what you call status quo. Some of those Nigerians that have wanted to remain the way Nigeria should be have refused to agree, even with physical infrastructures that we are seeing in those places that we said this person have done well. I will give you another example. Peter Obi spent how many years as a governor in Anambra State? He did his first time and second time. 8 years. 8 years. What his successor did, Peter Obi never did it. I've been to Anambra State. I've seen the roads his successor was able to put. I've seen the airport. And this plant was, all these achievements were the plans of his successor.
Yeah, but you can certainly...
I would have expected Anambra to have a rolling plan, a development plan over years.
Well, you can make the same argument about Lagos. What has happened in Lagos is what you call governmental continuity. Continuity. I mean, you have one governor, they do so much, another one. That's the way government should operate.
Government is a continuum.
Yeah. That's the way it should be. So you can't go back and say that Peter Obi didn't build an airport.
No, he didn't.
Because someone else did.
He didn't.
And he kind of moves on.
No, he didn't. If the plan was there, I don't see how his successor will have claimed to have made the plans.
Right.
But let me clear something.
Sure, of course.
When Fashola came, and Fashola is still alive, ask him, he will tell you that it's a continuum of what we have met on ground. They have a development plan that cannot be altered, and they have to go with it. The only thing they do is where they need to add, they add, but they have a plan. And Nigeria, if you remember, from 1975, we used to have a rolling plan after every budget, because the kind of budgetary system we have is defective. It can't give you what you want unless you have that leader with a vision, has the perspective of saying, look, let me tap the opportunities I have on ground.
So is that an admission that your leader, the APC leader, who's been president of Nigeria, doesn't have a vision?
When I spoke, I said from 1975 that used to be a plan.
But what
before Buhari becomes the president, we have Obasanjo, we have Eradua, and we have Jonathan. They spend most of the years under this democratic setup. So when you're talking about development, I want to believe that when you have the concept and ideas and you put them down as the chief executive, over time, when they start to mature, you'll see the kind of change we're talking about. But I give you an example.
Yeah, there was nothing
President Buhari has came up with a plan, especially like the area of gas now, the AKK project, whereby they're trying to transport gas to other places. The multiplier effect of this thing will help Nigeria in the future. How will it help Nigeria? The deforestation we're having, especially down around the Sahara, will reduce because there will be ample opportunity for all this gas to even be used domestically. And set aside, you are comparing with other presidential aspirants. And I will give you one of the presidential aspirants. We have a presidential aspirant that was chairing a privatization committee. Tell me one of those entities that have been privatized that have been able to stand on its own to do what those BPE guidelines that said, look, if you want to take this, this is what it should be, this is what it should be. Tell me, Alaja Steel Rolling Mill is dead. How much did he sold Alaja Rolling Mill? Katsina Rolling Mill is dead. Countless.
Yeah, but what did your government do to revive those industries? That's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is the fact that you talk about, you're telling us about the developing gas, which has not come to fruition yet. Yep. The oil that has been developed, which all you had to do was maintain security and ensure that that oil the windfall that this country has been getting from it continues. You haven't been able to do that. In the meantime, you're fighting a civil war in the APC right now, aren't you? Half your governors are fighting the presidency that is controlled by your own APC party. How can you, in those circumstances, present a united winning front to the Nigerian electorate?
Who declared the civil war? Is there a civil war in APC or in Nigeria? I don't understand.
Well, there is a civil war in the APC.
When you mean civil
the governors are fighting the president.
Charles, what is the definition of
war? No. We're not going for literal.
No,
I don't want to waste time. Otherwise, your time will disappear.
I'm not being literal. When you say civil war, tell me. There are some reasons.
We're not going to waste time on definitions. You understand what I mean?
Why don't
you're fighting each other right now.
Let me redefine it for you.
And therefore, you're not presenting a united front.
Let me redefine it for you. Why don't you ask me to say, why is it that your party is divided about the cash swap?
Well, the point I'm making is that you're fighting each other right now.
Okay, I will answer you.
Go ahead.
I'm a member of the Banking, Insurance and Financial Institution Committee in the Senate. This is completely not what was presented to us about change of currency. And even when you're talking about change of currency, we have seen in other claims, other economies, how they did it in other countries. Even the advanced countries, we have seen how they did it.
But the Nigerian situation is unique.
Nigerian situation cannot be unique than any other.
No, it is unique because politicians in this country are perceived as corrupt. And therefore, part of the plan was to change the currency in order to prevent them from using money. That's the perception.
Has that checked the corruption?
No. Well, I don't know.
What are the
indices? You tell me.
What are the
we saw a video.
Corruption?
Sorry?
How did you get the indices that Nigerian politicians have the tendency?
No. I'm saying, you see, you have to listen to my words. I said there is the perception that Nigerian politicians. I did say that.
All right,
that they are corrupt. And it is based on that we have seen the people who have the evidence, including the president and all the other people who are part of his presidency, saying that they're going to do this in order to check that corruption.
The perception is wrong.
So you're saying the president got the perception wrong?
He got the perception wrong.
Right, okay.
The plan, when you are changing your currency, is a very good thing for any country. Especially, you are supposed to change these currencies between 5 to 7 years. It's a very good. I'm an economist by training. It's a good thing to do. But the implementation has a lacuna.
Okay, let's leave that because we've only got 3 minutes left, and I need to get to certain things. I wanted to be able to talk
but let me make a point. Let me make a point.
Otherwise, you'll
let me
lose
make
the
a point.
chance to talk
When I mean
about your
lacuna,
re-election.
when I mean lacuna, politicians in this country constitute less than 5% of the population. And today, from the top, either middle or lower class of Nigerians are suffering from the poor implementation of this policy. And the view outside is that it's done because of one single presidential candidate.
Right.
And the sympathy that presidential candidate is having today is overwhelming. So, have anybody that thought that will checkmate anything been able to check it? All we need in this country is free, fair, transparent.
Right. Well, we don't know if he's enjoying goodwill. We will know on Saturday who wins the election. But let's turn to your bid for re-election to the Senate. Tell us why the people of Niger East should vote for you again. How qualitative has your representation been?
You see, the late Sardauna of Sokoto said, if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody blows it for you. But for my case, people are blowing my own trumpet. Because since the
now's your chance to blow
your trumpet yourself. Now I have the opportunity to do it.
But briefly, because
since the inception of this democracy, there is no single elected senator from my state or from the North Central states. Even the Senate President, Saraki, has not done in terms of projects that I have done in my constituency. in my senatorial district. If I've not done projects, I've done 467 different kind of projects. And I'm very proud to say it. And the bills are presented
but how
in the
did you
National
fund
Assembly.
those projects?
How do I fund them?
Yeah.
From my constituency projects. From
Right.
the capital allocations.
Because, I mean, you donated 100 campaign vehicles to the APC in your state.
That is entirely from my private
what I'm
business.
saying, you also donated a building to be used as a campaign office. And
That-
people have, I mean, that would have cost...
That's the building
that would have cost...
That is the building that I've constructed over 20 years
Yeah, but
back.
that would have cost, all of that would have cost hundreds of millions of naira. And people have to ask, where's that money coming from?
That money, when you go out and ask, what are my businesses? I have been a businessman all my life. I've been here before. You have asked me this question, if you remember, when I was looking for national chairmanship. And I've told you. In fact, you pushed me to tell you my words. I'm a businessman. Go and check. Do your profiling.
Okay.
And that gives you the question, the answer. But I choose to go for an elective office so that I'll be able to
give something back.
Give something back.
Well, I hope that that mental disposition that you have remains positive and remains the way that it is. Sure. Senator Sani Musa, I want to thank you very much indeed. You put up a very robust defense for your party, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it. And Senator Musa is, of course, the chairman of the Committee on Senate Services and is a senior member of the ruling APC party. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles.
That's it. Bye-bye.
Every day, life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will conduct the 2023 general election using the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS. On election day, the BVAS equipment will be used to accredit voters by verifying their fingerprints or facial photographs. In each polling unit, every voter must be verified and authenticated before they are allowed to vote. Any intending voter whose fingerprint or facial photograph is not verified by the BVAS equipment will not be able to vote. With this, one man, one woman, one vote is assured, as no one can engage in multiple voting, neither can anyone use the voter cards of another person to vote. After polling, the BVAS equipment will also be used to transmit election results electronically from polling units to the INEC result viewing portal for everyone to see. BVAS will eliminate multiple voting, identity theft, or impersonation. The BVAS will guarantee one man, one woman, one vote. INEC, making your vote count, consolidating our democracy.
This message is brought to you by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the Osiwa Africa Foundation.
Today, the Tony Elmelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program has trained over 1.5 million young African entrepreneurs. We have disbursed nearly $100 million to over 18,000 beneficiaries. who have gone on to create over 400,000 jobs across Africa.
We need to do more for women in Africa. Empower a woman, you're empowering a whole society.
The Tony Elumelu Foundation gives access to a world-class business training and seed capital.
Thanks to the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, we've been able to structure our business and operations, but also we got the funding and financial needs to concretize it and make it happen.
This is the impact we want to achieve at the Tony Elumelu Foundation. The Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program is sector agnostic. The only thing that is important to us is your ideas. The future of Africa is in your hands.
Hello everyone, welcome to News Night, where we bring you the biggest stories of the day from here in Nigeria and around the world. I am Ngozi Alebu.
I'm Sulaiman Aleda. Coming up over the next 2 hours, a Supreme Court reserves judgment until March in suit on the redesigned Naira. The controversy lingers on the fate of the old 500 and 1,000 Naira notes.
Ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections, presidential candidates and party chairmen sign final peace pact to eschew violence.
No cause for alarm. National Security Council reassures Nigerians that Saturday's election will hold safe and free.
That's right. And show of solidarity in Warsaw as U.S. President Joe Biden meets NATO's Eastern European leaders, wraps up his 3-day tour of the region.
And the countdown to Nigeria's defining general election continues.
Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Well, after a hearing that lasted several hours, the Supreme Court has reserved judgment till March 3 in the suit filed by some APC states seeking to allow both the old Naira notes and the new Naira notes to coexist as legal tender. Well, the court rejected all moves by counsel to the parties to further delay the case. Arise Judiciary editor Toby Shoni filed this report.
It's a parade of some of Nigeria's brightest legal minds. As brilliant as they are, the Supreme Court determined to hear all arguments for and against the continued use of the old Naira notes does not have the luxury of time to allow each of the lawyers expatiate on their submissions. But out of respect for Mr. Kanu Agabi, the counsel to the Attorney General of the Federation, who was also the most senior lawyer present, the court allowed him some time to shed more light on his written address. He insisted the Supreme Court does not have the jurisdiction to hear the case and that the plaintiffs were crying in the wrong court. He says they should have taken their case to the Federal High Court. In the course of the proceedings, the presiding justice, John Inyangokoro, asked the question who addressed the nation to vary our order. He also resisted vehemently all efforts by some of the lawyers to get the case further adjourned. He said the parties want to make the Supreme Court the scapegoat and that the court would resist such attempts. The court also seized the moment to call for further amendments to the 1999 Constitution to make sure that not all cases end up at the Supreme Court, adding that the caseload of the court is too high. Before the case was adjourned for judgment, counsel to the aggrieved states asked the court to grant all their reliefs. On the other hand, the federal government, Edo and Bayelsa states asked the court to dismiss the case for lack of jurisdiction. On whether the court's earlier order that both the old and the new Naira notes should remain legal tender still subsists, the Supreme Court refused to make any statement on the matter. The lawyers of the court hearing later addressed journalists.
We are all working at trying to salvage a difficult situation. That's where we are. The Supreme Court is trying to do that. The President is trying to do that. It's one nation, one people. We are looking for solutions.
The President has the power, further to Section 23, to direct the CBN governor. But the time frame given for this policy to be implemented and the terms are very short, and it's not convenient for the plaintiffs and indeed Nigerians to conform.
The government is apprehensive that if this policy is not reversed urgently and speedily, we might witness another serious outbreak of violence in Lagos.
Our judiciary editor Toby Shoni joins us now live. Toby, good to see you and thanks for your time. That was some grueling moment in the court, several hours, and Nigerians are wondering at the end of the day, it's till March 3.
Yeah, that's correct, but I'm not sure there is anything the court could have done, because they have to sacrifice hours, their own time, to make sure that this case is heard and decided as quickly as possible. There are cases that are still 2018, 2019, so in the Nigerian sense, this is pretty fast, and I think the justice deserves some commendation.
Absolutely, and the Supreme Court really seems to be in a hurry to get this done with very quickly. But it did not fail to make a point that it does not want to be a scapegoat in the case between the federal government and the state governors. The Supreme Court is, right when it, puts that case forward. But what are the major issues that came out of this today?
Well, I must tell you that it was quite an interesting day at the court, because the plaintiff hired some of the best lawyers you can get in the country, and all of them came prepared. It's quite very interesting. Some of the arguments they raised are some that we have never even heard of. That is due to the brilliance of some of these. They went into research, came out with a different argument to the case, and even I'm sure the Supreme Court was surprised. So, but beyond the fighting and the argument outside, the lawyers are always comrades. So justices, the plaintiff lawyer, the defendant lawyers continue to exhibit that friendship that the bar is known for.
What do you make of the case, very quickly, when the Zamfara, through their lawyer, Mr. Abiodun Owunikoko, asked the Supreme Court to actually set aside the broadcast of President Muhammadu Buhari on February 16?
Yeah, well, obviously the Owunikoko SAN raised that argument, but the courts maturely said, look, we'll look at it, but they refused to be pushed into taking any immediate action. There are other people that, like the Lagos State Attorney General, he asked the court not to even hear the federal government because they are in contempt of the earlier order. But the court, that is when the issue came up that, look, both state and the federal government want to, use the Supreme Court as the scapegoat, and that we refuse to be the scapegoat. That we are going to give opportunity to everybody to express his case, and then we are going to give a final judgment. Whether the party obey it or not is not our business. Our business is to deliver a final judgment, and that is what they have agreed to do.
On March 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your time, Toby Shoni.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah.
We'll take a moment while we come back.
A final peace accord signing before the election. Stay with us.
Running my business on my own, trying my best to get it to the next level, but I really need some help to get ahead. I know just what to do, I'll vote it for my loans, overdraft, step by step to my dream business with vote. Salary earners, entrepreneurs, get your loans with no collateral. Quick sign
Vault is available to individuals, SMEs, and corporate customers. Download Vault by Polaris Bank from the Google Play Store or Apple App Store to get started today.
Every day, life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
What is really happening in Akamata market? It seems these people don't want the election to hold.
I hope you broadcast it. The world must hear.
No. Is that how you people share sensitive news like that without verifying it? If I may ask, which news platform published the news?
Jojo sent it.
Jojo? Is that not the same Jojo that posted a fake election result the last time that almost caused a riot?
You know they forget something.
No. In this election season and after, one must be very careful. Or do you want to set the country on fire?
Haba.
Fake news is a threat to a free and fair election and to peace and security. So, before you share any news, check to be sure the source is credible. Check if there are supporting credible sources. Read beyond the headlines. Check the author. Check the date. Check your biases. Ask an expert or send to a fact-checking organization for confirmation. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
Great people of our land, now as we stand at the dawn of light, did you know that while our gallant men were fighting off bandits and insurgents, we were also laying a solid foundation for the infrastructure revolution to spark the growth of our economy? Did you know that the APC government has put our trains back in motion? That we have completed and commissioned 569 combined kilometers connecting Nigerians to friends, families, and trade by trains, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs across the value chain. Now, as we stand at this dawn of light, let us move forward with renewed hope. Let's elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Kashim Shettima as President and Vice President to birth the greater Nigeria of our collective dreams.
This message is brought to you by the National Working Committee of the APC.
APC Progress!
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching News Night. Presidential candidates have signed the final peace accord that signals their commitment to a peaceful and transparent polls. It follows a recent wave of violence which has stoked fears about the ability of Nigeria's security forces to protect voters at the polls this weekend. Tunji Olanipe confirmed this report.
Saturday's election will be taking place at a time Nigerians are experiencing cash and fuel scarcity, which is attendant tension across the country. This is why the last peace accord signing by politicians is important to get the major actors committed to pre-election, election, and post-election peaceful conduct by their supporters. Presidential candidates from 18 political parties and their party chairmen are represented here as they append their signatures to the peace treaty. President Muhammadu Buhari again re-emphasizes the readiness of his administration to pass a legacy of free and credible transition.
Since my assumption of office, we have worked so hard
to ensure that we pass on a legacy of free, fair, credible, safe, and peaceful elections. We will continue to act with neutrality and allow the rule of law to take precedence over political expediency. I urge the candidates contesting these elections at all levels to respect the voice, the choice of voters, and accept the result of the elections as announced by INEC.
Chairman of the National Peace Committee, General Absalami Abubakar, advises candidates to use legal means to seek redress if need be, and not resort to undemocratic means.
Now that the election is only a few hours away, we are here to witness the second signing of the National Peace Accord to commit the presidential candidates, their party chairmen, and their parties to accept the outcome of the elections as long as it is judged to be free, fair, and credible.
Former head of state Yakubu Gowon enjoins the candidate to put the nation first and accept the result of the election as a demonstration of good sportsmanship. This position was echoed by former President Goodluck Jonathan, whose message was read by Bishop Matthew Kuka.
In every democracy, peace is a critical factor that breeds political, social, and economic progress. I passionately appeal to the political actors to embrace peace.
There is no better time to make this commitment than now, given the considerable levels of tension and apprehension so far experienced in the build-up to these elections. This is the time for the candidates and party leaders to demonstrate goodwill and impress upon it the cadres and followers that the election is not a war.
We are not praying to witness another Orubebe incident here. However, if this is to occur, I implore Professor Mahmoud Yakubu to behave like Professor Tairu Jega, who had handled the situation in a professional manner.
With the signing of the peace accord, Nigerians are very hopeful of free and non-violent election come Saturday as Nigerians get ready to pick President Buhari's successor.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're joined now by Dayat Hassan, a National Peace Committee member who was there at the signing. She's also the director of the Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Well, 4 months ago, the first peace accord was signed. And since then, between then and now, would you say that that peace accord has made a difference in the way that political gladiators actually conduct themselves? How much more their supporters? How significant, really? How timely is this peace accord?
I think this is quite timely and important because this is just like 2 days into the elections and campaign ends tomorrow. So it's symbolic to actually have that peace accord signed today. It's also, there are also symbolism and the importance even the candidates themselves are paying to this peace accord is quite gratifying. Think of it, all the 18 parties, all the 18 presidential candidates were present today, which tells you that either way you look at it, they do still respect that institution and they do still believe that the peace accord matters, not just to them, but actually to Nigerians. So it's tone setting. And the way it was well attended by the International Observer Mission, having 3 former head of state from Africa, we are not talking of other parts of the world, participate, huge. It shows you that this is actually something which would actually herald the elections itself. And so it's a good tone setter towards the last days of this long campaign season.
You know, talking about tone setting, let's go with the speech of the Inspector General of Police, recalling what transpired then in 2015, and perhaps see how this can translate to the followers. Because what we saw in 2015, the actors actually heeded to what the peace accord was about, save for some of their members, and in that case, the gentleman at the IG just mentioned. So 2 days to the big moment, or rather 3 days, you think this is enough for the followers of these politicians to also imbibe that spirit?
I think it's also important to look at the content of the peace accord. The peace accord is not in isolation, actually. What it does is it basically looks at the laws of the land of Nigeria. So it's not just a peace accord, it's actually what is already written into our laws, either the Constitution, the Electoral Act, the Criminal Code, or the Penal Code. So it's not in isolation. Some of the infractions are punishable. And this was actually reiterated in this 11-clause peace accord, just as it was in the 12th one that was initially signed last year. And to say that it's again tone setting is that this is the third time we will actually be meeting. Earlier in the year, the presidential candidates and their party chair were again called to a meeting where these infractions, so-called or infractions, were reviewed with them. And thankfully, they all came, they all listened, and they all committed to actually doing it. And I believe that 2023 is actually different from 2015. That has been through electoral cycle, which means that we have also evolved. So we do not foresee an Urubebe situation in these elections. I feel that as Nigerians, we have gone beyond Urubebe.
But Diet, what makes this special? Because even in 2015, there wasn't more than one, but now we're getting to see almost back-to-back peace accord.
And even with much more tone setting than what was previously.
What does that in itself say, especially with the largest deployment of foreign observers? Does it say really that for Nigeria, we've really come of age in terms of handling ourselves democratically, whether it's going to the polls or whatever? Or is it a sign that we're really not as mature as we thought?
No. I think in terms of the deployment of observers, what we should actually say is that that is not, it's not even as large as we had in Kenya. Maybe here we have like top 6 observation mission. In Kenya, we had more than 20. Observer mission. We even had individuals who had used their own money to monitor on their own without being observers. It also talks about the importance the world actually accords to issues that surround Nigeria, like issues of this country are important, not just for Africa, but actually the world at large. And some of them are our partners and also invited by the Independent National Electoral Commission to monitor the elections as a way of actually gauging the integrity quotient of the elections and even the acceptance of outcome by all these gladiators. Now, when we talk in terms of the 3 accord itself, the first one was explicit and it was on issue-based campaign. Yes, like for the first time. So you will see that even the peace committee itself is actually evolving and thinking of new things and new ways of actually doing things. So it's not just about the acceptance of outcome, it's also about responsible campaign. And that was what we saw, the refrain from the use of fake news, influence politics and all that in the first peace accord. Then a review to tell them that the peace committee is watching. And the peace committee is not just asking you to sign and you can observe in breach, but they are watching. And third, to the final tone setting with our own head of state, President Muhammadu Buhari, participating, former head of state Yakubu Gowon, and President Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan, sending in their messages. I think nothing can actually be better.
Fantastic. I mean, especially when you hear from President Muhammadu Buhari that he will be neutral. I wonder how comforting that is. Hidayat Hassan, Director, Center for Democracy and Development, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we wish ourselves all the best as we go to the polls. Let's take a break. Plenty more still ahead, including
President Buhari presides over a Security Council meeting as the elections draw closer. Stay with us.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Hey, make you know the wait. 894. 894 Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You fast.
Great Nigerians, great obedience. Welcome to the revolution for a new Nigeria. On Saturday, 25th February, the Nigerian presidential election is a revolution at the polls for visionary leadership. The leadership of Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed of the Labour Party LP with the Papa, Mama and Pikin logo. It's a revolution for change that will be effected by our votes with our powerful PVCs. It's a generational revolution by the youth, the obedience and all Nigerians who love our great country, Nigeria, dearly. It is a transformational revolution to get Nigeria back on track and move us from what is wrong to what is right. It's a revolution to unlock the greatness in Nigeria and Nigerians, the land and its people. A new Nigeria. It is possible with the right leadership, the Obidati leadership. This time, we won't miss it. Our votes will count.
I'm not afraid of that man.
Me too.
What can you really do?
I hope you people are discussing about paying me my rent.
Oga landlord, calm down. We are discussing about the upcoming elections.
Nonsense. Don't tell me to calm down. Your mates are at the Akamata Community Square selling their votes for 5,000 naira. But you are here doing what I don't know.
Oga landlord, do you know that 5,000 naira spread over the next 4 years is just 4 naira per day? Is this what we should sell our votes for? God forbid.
Oga landlord, wise up. We must vote in the right people this time, instead of selling our votes to people who have nothing good to offer our community.
That one is your business. You ladies better go and collect yours, if that will help you gather my rent at the end of the month. Do not listen to people like this landlord. Election is not a business venture. It is your civic duty to your country to help elect the right leaders who will create a better life for you and a great future for your children. Do not sell your future. Do not sell your vote. This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the MacArthur Foundation.
Just stop it. You stop it. Hey there, you're so stopping it. Our currency is our pride. Let's all treat it well. Let's handle it with care and respect. Remember the cashless policy. So reduce your cash transactions by using eNaira, POS terminals, the ATM, and USSD codes using your mobile device. Keep our Naira clean and fresh. Be limitless.
This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Nígbà PDP ọ̀dọ́ ríṣẹ́ ṣe oúnjẹ rẹpẹtẹ ayé wa dára nígbàlẹ̀ bá dé ló bá dojúrú ojoojúmọ́ ṣá la Nàìjíríà ní Nàìjíríà ilẹ̀ ọlọ́ràá ló bá dahoro ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà padà. Àtíkù ti dé Okowa ti dé ìmọ́lẹ̀ ti dé òkùnkùn paradà. No experiment, safe choice. Only experience, safe choice. Foreign investment, safe choice. Recover Nigeria, safe choice. Safe choice.
Vote the safe choice to recover Nigeria.
PDP. Power to the people.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
If you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Newsnight. Now, the National Security Council says Nigeria is well secure ahead of Saturday's presidential elections. The council also assures Nigerians that the polls will hold in a safe and conducive atmosphere. Our State House correspondent Adeswa Omoran reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari is taking a closer look at election security ahead of the 2023 general election. This meeting is to ensure that security forces are crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Expected to be the last before the elections, the security meeting comes 5 months after its last session. With barely 48 hours to the presidential and National Assembly elections, the meeting reviewed the readiness of all security agencies and other institutions empowered with the responsibility of keeping the peace during and after the elections.
The position of the president is to the effect that the election is held on the 25th day of February 2023, and Mr. President and the Council, the National Security Council, are happy with the preparations on the ground, and wholehearted arrangements are put in place in that direction.
We must ensure that Nigerians are allowed to come out and exercise their franchise or vote the leaders of their choice. And for that, we must create conducive environment or atmosphere for Nigerians to exercise their right. We must also provide protection to INEC materials and officials to do their work. We must ensure that before, during, and after the election, whatever fallback it is, we do not have people who will take the laws into their hands, and if there is any, we should be able to check within the quickest possible means to ensure that it does not snowball into either bigger crisis.
Last week, the police announced that over 400,000 security personnel will be deployed for the elections, with the police playing the lead role. The Inspector General of Police reacts to the presence of soldiers in Lagos and Ogun states ahead of the elections.
These are not operations that are targeted at the election, but it is targeted at stabilizing the situation, especially the one that came up as a result of the current currency swap.
Red zones and troubled spots have been identified across the country by civil society organizations and the security forces. While separatist threats persist in Southeast, ethnic and political tensions also pose a threat to a peaceful, violence-free elections. Saturday's elections will be the 7th since Nigeria's return to democracy. Nigerians will be hoping to build on that record as one of Africa's most stable democracy in the midst of rising coups in the African sub-region. Adesua Omoruan, Arise News.
And I've been joined by the Minister of Works and Housing and former Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome to Newsnight.
Well, let's quickly start off by getting off some legal matters before we get into the politics and looking at your ministry. Quite a number of issues, and some have actually said that you have spoken out against some colleague of yours, specifically Festus Keyamo, on the issues that Nigerians would want some kind of clarity that you'll hear. Perhaps let's start off from that.
Why are you suggesting? Why are you running away from who said so?
Well, just to make it clearer, I mean, we had a situation where the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo, came out to say that, look...
I understand this question, so do you want me to answer?
And you said that the President was not in contempt of the Supreme Court interim injunction.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Absolutely.
So when he started by saying that some have said, it was your sister organization that said so, this day newspaper. So don't run away from it. Now, I don't take responsibility for what the editor decides to cast as a headline. And I think that if anybody read the story, quoting what I said, I never made such a suggestion. First of all, I think my public service record with regards to court orders, rule of law, very clear. So it won't change overnight, not for an election. And I think that it was a very disingenuous attempt by whoever was editing the paper on the day. Because if you go and read the body of the story, first of all, as a habit, I don't talk about court cases if I don't have the facts. Right. And I'm not one lawyer. Even when I was doing trial work, I don't give interviews about my cases on TV. You will not find one. So That's my record. I wasn't trained that way. So to now elevate a hypothetical situation that I was talking about, not the facts, a hypothetical that if somebody locked a door in your hand and you went to the court to tell the court to make an order that that person should please open the door. And the court says, okay, we are getting the papers, we're going to adjourn, and you are feeling pain. And that person says, look, I didn't intend to cause this much pain, and tries to open the door. That you are stretching the argument of contempt too far. That was a hypothetical situation. Go and read the report.
Right.
So somebody needed to sell a story, maybe my name sells story, so, but that's behind me.
So what exactly is your position on that particular issue? Because the same Festus Keyamo actually said that the president meant well, you know, by varying the Supreme Court's ruling. But some people advised the president wrongly. And I'm wondering, are you one of the people that the president...
First of all, I didn't listen to Keyamo's statement, so I can't comment about what he said. I haven't read the court order, so I won't comment about it. I haven't seen what the papers are. All of these things are usually reported in the media. The way I was trained, if you want to know what a court did or did not do, apply for a certified true copy of the proceedings. That's the way I was trained. Read them and then form your own independent opinion of the facts. Even people who claim to report what courts decide, you have found out that you follow their report at your own peril, because many of them, not enough of them, are trained lawyers.
Okay, so help us understand what exactly the Supreme Court meant with that interim injunction, that status quo antebellum should remain. And what is your understanding of the president's, you know, response, his February 16th
As I speak here,
yes,
right, I haven't seen the order, so I can't help you understand what the Supreme Court meant from what is reported in the newspapers until I read the motion that was brought before the court, the full text of it, and the order that the Supreme Court made. I won't give an opinion. I'm not trained like that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's talk about politics. I mean, the elections are right around the corner. A few days ago, you actually asked INEC to come out with the exact numbers of people who have picked up, you know, their PVCs as against those who have registered. Where was there a need for you to make that point? Do you have doubts in INEC's, you know, transparency, or what, really?
Well, before you start reading motives into my statement, I stand by that statement. I use this platform to reiterate it again, because oftentimes people say, yes, it's true, election is an undertaking of numbers, a game of numbers. That's true. So you will see that INEC as an institution has, over the last few months, provided advocacy, what is going on, how many voters they have registered, number of these they have done, and so on and so forth. But a crucial number is now missing. A crucial number is now missing. We have the number of registered voters. We have an indication of the number of PVCs that were printed to match expectably the number of people you have registered. But there is a missing number in this game of numbers. How many people have collected PVC? It is a very important number, and INEC must do itself and all of us a world of good by quickly producing those numbers nationally, by the states, by the local governments, and if possible to the polling units, because we all know that voter turnout is never 100%, except in places like some Asian country whose name I need not mention here, where it's a criminal offense not to vote. So the number of registered voters is a larger number against the number of people who have collected their PVC. That one is a subset of registered voters. The number of people who actually go out to vote is a subset of the number of people who have collected PVC. And if you look in the Electoral Act, you will see the significance of the point that I am making. So it is important, and all of the international and local observers who are here should also help INEC do this if they are, with all the support they're providing. It's a very important number.
Because no doubt, I think that will help every political party going beyond yours.
That's why when I raised the issue yesterday, I said I am sure that on this matter all the political parties will agree. And I have yet to see any political party who says I am not expressing a view favorable to them.
Well, quickly, let's also talk about the campaigns which you had a mega rally in your home state, Lagos State. And some of the key concerns people have been asking is some policy. I go back, but again, it's still about politics, the timing of the cash redesign, perhaps, and you're also overseeing a big campaign office for your party. Is that affecting the conversation you're having with the people as you go into the polls on Saturday?
You know, let me say again that what has happened in the purported exercise of the Central Bank Act, especially Section 20, where it talks about redesigning currencies, it gives powers undoubtedly to to Central Bank to undertake that exercise. My understanding of that provision, because I read it again and again, and what it suggests to me, my interpretation of that section of the law, is that if you choose to redesign denomination A, say the 1,000, the 500, or the 200, every time I produce a 200, you must give me a 200. Every time I produce a 1,000, you must give me 1,000 back until that currency denomination is eventually taken out of circulation.
That makes it a swap.
Yes, that's the word used in the act. So what has been done here has no legal basis. That is my view. On a cold,
central bank is
on a cold and calm interpretation, if the law says that you can only take 2 steps, if you take 4 steps, you have violated the law. Once you are a creature of law. So, as I said, let me be clear again, the Central Bank clearly has powers under Section 23 to reissue, to redesign currency. But that process is a swap. Not to say bring all your money. The law didn't envisage that at all. And to that extent, it is outside the law. And you see, so when I sit down and listen on TV, some people saying it is causing pain, understandably, we are all united about the pain and the discomfort it is causing. But some people, some media houses seem to have a vested interest in supporting that exercise. I'm wondering what their investment, even in their partisanship, may be in an investment in illegality.
Yeah, but your principal, Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC, when this happened, he actually said that this was really about him to scuttle his chances of winning the election. So the question is, has it in any way affected his campaign?
I'm not there yet. Yeah, I'm first saying that, look, the question we should even be asking ourselves is the authorization to redesign and swap approved by Mr. President, does it include an authorization to mop up money? Does the Central Bank Act? Because it's one thing to have an authorization on the face of the letter of the law and then proceed to do something that is contrarian to law, which is what seemed to have happened.
So how do you think this will be resolved? How should it be resolved?
We will wait for the Supreme Court to determine that. Okay. But in terms of election operations, let me also make an important point. I've been involved in not a few elections as candidate, as chief of staff, as minister. And one thing that is missing in our electoral process is volunteering. So I would have expected that over time, as we are making regulations, and I support every undertaking to digitize our economy, to create visibility for transactions, but we must factor in the fact that each of the political parties, if at least the main ones who have a national spread, will have to pay agents in 176,000 plus polling stations. And those must be factored into subsequent election regulations. I would like to see a day where in future, cash or no cash, agents who will be performing a lawful civic duty can be contracted on a one-page simple contract that has been drawn up by any lawyer to say, this is my account number, I'm agent for so. And all of this can be deposited in any banking institution so that remittances can be made without discomfort.
Let me jump in here now. The Buhari administration is coming to an end, and perhaps people will be asking if there are projects yet to be completed. Specifically, the people around the axis of the Benin, Auchi, Okene, or Bajano Road. Money has been earmarked, and they are eager to know when work will start. Okay, so we inherited that project. It was started in the last administration in parts, and some of the things people don't understand. At the time they awarded it based on the condition of the road as is. So they wanted to dualize it. In any event, that's not the story. There has not been enough money to do all of the things we want to do. President and our government has been innovative, from Sukuk to pre-IDF, which is part of his anti-corruption efforts to bring back stolen money taken outside Nigeria to invest it in Nigeria. So those who are questioning our anti-corruption success must look beyond just convictions and all of that. Just last month, he approved recoveries of 114 billion to be put back into this thing. But good news for that axis, it was one of the major 12 axes of constriction during rainy season. Niger State was also around for petrol development, Calabar too. We solved all of those places. Cham, Numan, work is progressing. So NNPC has taken this on board under our tax credit scheme. Just before coming here, there are contractual processes that have to be undertaken. So the agreements just came back. I was preparing to sign them this night when my time ran up, and I had to come back to the studio. So all the papers for the contracts are in. NNPC pays through the FIRS. We don't touch the cash, but there are contractual processes, there are specifications about contract size, scope of works, variation limits, and so on, that have to be tidied up. But answer to your question, work will soon start.
Very, very quickly, before we let you go, there's the housing arm. I've interviewed you a couple of times, and you always question the issue of 17 million housing deficit.
Well, nobody has provided an answer to my question.
Since you took over as housing minister, of course, and works, how much really has improved as far as housing deliverables is concerned for Nigerians?
Well, we have led by example, and I don't recall the last time we had a national housing project where houses are being built in 35 states. So when people ask what has changed, that's change. That is positive. But don't forget that if you want to make anything, you need some control of the materials needed to make it. The biggest component, or one of the big components in building houses, is land. Land is a state matter. So again, there are some governments that are doing housing projects, and that's to be commended because it is really their primary responsibility because of the control they have over a major input. But private sector has kicked in, largely because of some of our policies, and this is where it should go. It's actually, at the end of the day, commodity, whether it is like food, water, but this where private sector should be leading. And what we've seen with my interface with private sector over the years is that there's a lot of them now going on, and you also host some of their adverts now. So the sector is doing well. It is employing people, but there's still scope for improvement, and I keep making this advocacy. I will use this opportunity again. We must not lose focus of the fact that not everybody can own a house, at least not at the same time.
Why not?
People need to rent. You climb on a housing ladder. You can't jump one day and say you're a house owner fresh from school. The people, as their careers are going, they move from renters. We need to protect people in rented occupation, control rent, especially in high urban densities, young people. And those are matters for state governments.
We have to leave it there. Babatunde Raji Fashola, Minister of Works and Housing, it's been a delight having you. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night.
Thank you.
We'll take a time for a break, and when we come back, still ahead, including INEC confirms CBN has released some cash for the elections. Plus,
condemnation as a bag of permanent voters' cards is found in Anambra State. Stay with us.
Great people of our land, did you know that the APC government has undertaken housing projects in 34 states, completing more than 13,000 homes across 9 states? Did you know that the APC government has never failed in its obligations to states and local governments with their due allocations, with schools feeding over children, survival fund for SMEs, and payment of pensions, among many others, including the ease of doing business agenda? You must know that we are peerless in citizens' care, for history says we are the best in social welfare. Now, as we stand at this dawn of light, let us move forward with renewed hope. Let's elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Kashim Shettima as President and Vice President to birth the greater Nigeria of our collective dreams.
This message is brought to you by the National Working Committee of the APC.
APC Progress! Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, or however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Night. Electoral body INEC has confirmed that the cash required for the payment of ad hoc staff and other services for the election has been released by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu disclosed this at a meeting with foreign election observers in the country. With the funds disbursed, INEC is now well equipped to deliver the best elections to Nigerians.
And the Central Bank of Nigeria has made available the small amount of cash that we require to pay for services that we cannot otherwise pay by electronic transfer. So all the state offices are accessing the cash for these basic services. The bulk of payment is by means of electronic transfer. So I want to reassure you that the elections will hold on Saturday the 25th for the national elections, meaning presidential and national assembly. And then 2 weeks later, we'll hold the state elections, meaning governorship and state houses of assembly, like in Kenya, the county assemblies. So we are set for that.
Residents of Anambra State are calling on government to investigate the huge stash of permanent voter cards found in the town of Nnewi. The voters' cards are seen here in this viral video were allegedly found in a forest by some hunters in the Akamike Udundim community in Nnewi North. The cards were then taken to a media house. The Anambra State Police Command says it has ordered an investigation.
We went to authority this morning and we can be able to secure the bag. But due to we checked the bag and it's most names there are from this Umudin. Umudin, Ward 1, Ward 2, and part of Nnewi. And since the majority is from Umudin here, so we decided to bring it to the palace of our OB so that he will see what is happening.
I saw the news on Twitter. So when I saw it on Twitter, I already knew that something like this will happen because it's just a number of people, plenty of people here in the NEO, we just tell you that they've registered, they've not gotten their distance. So we knew something was amiss. So it wasn't even a surprise to us when we heard that something like this came up. And so I'm very hopeful that we'll find our cards. Not just for me, but for my relatives and every other person who has registered maybe 2013, 2017, and up till now, and who have not collected their cards.
I feel that my own might be here. That is why I rushed here the first time to check whether I will be able to see my own there. Though we are still on the procedure, but up to now I haven't seen my card here.
I went for PVC. Was it last year? Since then, I have not seen my own. They haven't given me my own. If I come, they will say I should come tomorrow, I should come today. So since then, I haven't seen anything like PVC.
Well, INEC says it will not comment on that particular viral video and has dismissed the video as one previously debunked by the Commission. Well,
that's it from us. Coming up in the next hour is Christian and Adeswa.
I'm Ngozi Alebu.
I'm Sulaiman Alede.
This our landlord and his wife happy fight for Africa, sha.
Chai, no mind the man. With that in nose like our Market Square Junction.
Hey, whoa. Una don't start this now gossiping again, Abi. Okay. Una met the Akamata Community Square. They sell their votes to politicians for cool 5K. Una sit down here, the mumu una safe. It's alright.
Omo, make we sef go collect our own cash.
Collect waiting. God forbid. So you want sell the next 4 years of your life for 5K, Abi? Well done. You sabi say this 5K now 4 naira per day for the next 4 years. Make una get sense now. Haba.
No nonsense una dey talk. Make month end rich, make una no pay me my rent. Na that time una go see fire. Make una no dey listen to people like this landlord. Election no be business. Na your civic duty to your country to help elect the correct leaders them. We go fit create better life for us and no go get future for our children. Make you no sell your vote. Cause if you sell your vote, na your future you don't sell be that. This message now from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the MacArthur Foundation.
My guy, my brother, my blood. E no get waiting fall from sky, we ground no fit carry. We have been through a lot, and we still stand strong. If you remember, together we overcame monsters, battled the darkness, and even survived loss. But we became unbreakable, unstoppable. So guy, shake off the bad vibe. Face the world with your full chest. Because this life, forget, you and me, now we go run out.
Hi, my people, reason this thing now.
When PDP day,
our country be safe, Naira strong, economy they grow, fuel 87 Naira, rice 8,000,
our lives in better. Oh.
When change people come, no work, no food, economy for gutter. Naija boro, banditry full town, japa left and right, sakpa up and down.
No need to gamble,
say choice.
PDP don't come,
say choice.
Recover Naija,
say choice.
We don't tire to suffer,
say choice.
Experience mind,
say choice.
We don't want experiment,
say choice.
Get them right,
say choice.
This is our life, oh,
say choice.
Recover Nigeria,
say choice.
Atiku na the man, oh,
say choice.
Atiku Anokowa,
say choice.
Na the only choice, oh,
say choice.
Nah.
Ode. See that? What you do? You go there now.
Ode, no.
Mba.
Akwa agwabugo m gị. Ọ bụrụ na ego a agafe nde naira 5, ebukwana ya abịa ebe a o buru ya je n'ụlọ akụ gị bụ otu onye. ọ bụkwa nụrụ ụlọ ọrụ ọ gafee nde naira 10 buru ya jee ụlọ akụ ebukere ya bịa ebe a sị gị nna ụnụ ada anụ nke bife sị gị buru ya jee n'ụlọ akụ